hear me okay. I'm just going to very quickly share a presentation with you all. So you've all been working really hard at the moment in your teams to create your club of the future. Okay, so this is one of the things that you've been working on for the last few weeks in your teams. So basically the overall project, you had to research and explore the needs of your local area. So we looked at Chepstow, some of you might have looked at Monmouthshire as a whole, and you had to plan and develop a club for the future in that locality. So you did lots of planning, lots of research before you got to that stage. Now the actual final outcome that we need from you is a screen recording and a voiceover walkthrough of you going through your club. Okay, so you and your team will be required to each have a speaking part, and you will record yourselves going through your actual club. Now when we looked at the Principality Stadium one, the Minecraft version for the WRU, they had NPCs on there, which you're going to have to create some of those as well, which gave information. Okay, so these were the stages of the project. You guys have done 1 to 4, so you're on the build at the moment. Some of you are still finishing off those. You did a research and explore, so you looked at the different sort of area, what people needed, the location. You looked at what would be put in your actual stadium. You should have then had a plan. So you looked at the layout, the size, the dimensions, and then you've been working on your build for the last few weeks. Okay. Now we now need to be working over the next 2 weeks on section 5 and 6 of the project. Okay, so some of the other departments are going to give you some briefs and tasks that are going to help to be part of your Minecraft Stadium build. So there's quite a lot of things on here that you're going to be able to incorporate, and you can put in there with your NPCs. You could put maybe some chalkboards in there, sort of like the notice boards as you're going along, and you can put links, like website links to different various things. Okay, and then at the end you're going to record all of this in Minecraft. So these are just the stages like I just went through a second ago. Okay, so stage 5 then. So this is what you're going to be required to do over the next 2 weeks with some of the other enrichment tasks that you've had from other departments. So you have to decide what information you want to share with people as they are going around your Minecraft build. Okay, so how are you going to present the information? So some of the briefs at the bottom, as you can see here, you've got like a fitness and nutrition of rugby player. There's a rugby player profile one that you're going to look at in a minute, which is with the Welsh language. You're going to do a press conference with a video link, and there's quite a lot of things that you can incorporate into your Minecraft build as you are sort of doing your walkthrough around the stadium. Okay, so everyone's familiar, all of you play Minecraft, I'm sure, that there's the NPCs here where obviously they're static, stationary sort of like characters, I suppose, and they give you information. So when you click on them, they give you specific information. So you could click on one of yours, for example, and where you've done research of the local area, that person could actually, you know, have sort of like a written element where you've put exactly what it says on there. Okay, you can also put links to things. So if you wanted to link it to Chepstow Castle or something in the local area, Chepstow School, you can put links on there and hyperlinks to save it. You can also create a PowerPoint or your planning PowerPoint that you've created before, and then you could add that onto there as well. And you can also look at things like chalkboards. Now we're going to do a step-by-step video that will help you to create those as part of your build. Okay, so that's stage 5, and then you've got stage 6, which is your final walkthrough. You need to, in your teams, create a script and a bit of a storyboard, and then you're going to record it. So what we're going to do is we're going to allow you to use Teams to be able to record just for this 2-week period, so you can record yourselves in your teams going through your Minecraft, and then you can save a copy of this so we can all access the video then. Now what I've done, everyone's got access to this new Teams page called the WRU Minecraft Project. I have put in there 2 sort of folders. Inside each of them is a copy of this brief. There's also a video and a PowerPoint as well to help you with stage 5 and then the last stage, which is stage 6. Okay, so you've got plenty of information that can help you. Also, you're going to have members of staff that have been allocated to groups. So we're going to be keeping an eye and checking in with you as well. So it could be that we'll have meetings with you throughout the stages of these next 2 weeks, just to check how you're getting on with not only this part of it, but also the other enrichment tasks that you're going to be explained to you this morning by other faculty areas. And so, like I said, we're focusing now on getting that build finished. with the other enrichment tasks that you're doing for the other departments, putting them into stage 5, where you're going to have your NPCs and maybe some chalkboards or some links to different activities, or your newspaper article or your rugby player profiles, which is what you're going to do today. So everything that you're going to be doing over the next 2 weeks is going to link in with your final WRU Minecraft build. And then as the very last stage then next week, which we'll go through again, you're going to then record yourselves in your team going through your Minecraft tour. So you need to work out what way you're going to show everyone, where it is, what things you're going to show to people. And like I said, if you remember, this is part of a project which is a competition for the WRU. So we will submit the best ones to the WRU for part of the challenge, and obviously there will be a prize for those. So they go to regional and then the national finals, and then hopefully there will be some sort of prize at the end of it. So that's kind of just my little section. Okay, so we're working on the build, just to clarify. All of the enrichment tasks from the rest of the faculty areas that are going to talk to you this morning are all going to go towards elements of your Minecraft final build, and you can put them in and you can put links in there to each of these activities that you're going to do today. Okay, so Mr. Goddard, that's my section over.
Okay, thanks, Mrs. Giddy. Next we have Miss Jones from the P department is going to come and share her brief.
Hi, morning everybody. There's lots of you that I don't know. I don't teach anyone in year 7, so I'm Mrs. Jones and I'm going to be your point of contact for this. So if you've got any questions about the fitness and nutrition element, then please ask me. So we've got a couple of tasks that we've set as a PE department. One is to do with the fitness and of a rugby player, and one is to do with the nutrition. So when we see sports people on the TV, or if we go and watch a rugby game, we see them performing. We don't necessarily think about all the things that go on behind the scenes, and that's what we'd like you to think about over the next couple of weeks. So we'd like you to think about, apart from the skills training that they do, what else do they do? So they might do some fitness training in the gym. So there's I've written a brief which I think will be shared with you in your Teams page, and there is a link on there to an England rugby website which has some fitness sessions which you can try at home. So you don't need any equipment, you don't need any weights or anything like that, but they're fitness-based sessions which we would like you to have a go at. So the idea is that as your group, or one of you in your group, will try out these fitness sessions, so you can just copy them off the website, have a go, have a discussion in your group, and then think about what you could put together as your own fitness session for a rugby player. So things you'd need to think about would be what kind of activities you'd need to be putting in there. So are you going to put burpees in there, squats, press-ups, whatever it might be, how long they're going to do each station for, how long they're going to rest for, how many times they're going to repeat each station. And then if you're really enjoying that, you can start thinking, there's a couple of extension tasks on there. So can you start thinking about which muscles they're using and how each activity is going to help, particularly within their rugby, their game of rugby. So the way we'd like you to do this is you can either design a written training program. So you're going to put it in a table format and submit that on Teams as their training program for a week, just for a week we want the plan for, or you could do it via video. So you could record yourself or someone in your team performing the training program, so showing us each station and talking through what you're doing in each activity, how long you're doing it for, what the muscles are. So exactly the same thing, same information needs to go in, but you can either do it as table format on Word, or you can present it as a video. So that's the first one, and that's a fitness one. And then the second one is the nutrition side of it. So rugby players and all sports people have to have a very specific diet. They need to make sure they're getting enough protein, enough carbs, enough various other elements of the food plate, and to make sure that it's working for them in terms of their training. So again, there's a link on your brief which takes you to an example of a nutrition guide for a rugby player. So we'd like you to have a look through that, see the various things that they eat during the week, when they eat them, why they eat them, that kind of thing. And then again, there's two elements to this, well, two options with this task. You can either create a training, a food fitness, what's the word I'm looking for, nutrition guide, which you can write out in a Word template to say what you're going to eat every day for a week. Or you can talk us through that and video that for us to say what you're going to eat, when you're going to eat it, why you're going to eat it. And then for an extension task, if someone's feeling really creative, we'd like you to try and cook one of your recipes and perhaps video yourself making the dish and showing us what you're putting in it, and then showing us your final dish. So we're going to look at what rugby players are eating as well as what they do in terms of their training. I think that is pretty much it from me, but any questions that you've got over the week or over the fortnight, please ask. And I think this brief will be put on your Teams page, so you'll be able to check all the things that I've said.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Jones. Yeah, all the briefs are actually now on the Teams page. So if you go to files and it says briefs, all this information is on there. Okay. So next up we have Mr. Phillips.
Morning everyone. As you can see, very nice suitable background on the WRU here. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Mr. Phillips. I won't be your link for this project. It'll be Mr. Goddard, the younger one, not the older one. So he will be your point of contact for this project, but I'm just launching it today for him. So I'll just share my screen with you so you can see the brief for us today. Mr. Goddard, can you confirm that you can see that?
Yeah, all good, Mr. Phillips.
Okay, so we're going to be looking at the sort of the press conference element. So it's like a media, and there's elements of drama going to be into this project. Okay, so as you know, you're going to be launching a new state-of-the-art stadium, and the idea is the BBC Wales have requested you to arrange a press conference to promote this stadium. Okay, now it'll be pre-recorded and it'll be going on BBC Wales today. So if you want to have an idea of what BBC Wales looks like and their structure and the way that it's formatted, it's on every day at 6:30 p.m. so you can have a look at it. The segment you're going to be doing is going to be somewhere between 3 and 5 minutes. It'll be dependent on how many ideas you have, okay? And the idea is to slot it into the BBC Wales bulletin. So what you need in your group, first allocate your roles for each member. And I think this will be important to determine how much you enjoy, but also how successful your task will be as well. You'll need to script certain parts of it to make it a bit more structured. And the aim of your sort of news bulletin press conference is to sort of inform the public about this new and exciting stadium. Okay, the more ambitious you are, the better the news bulletin, the better the press conference and everything. So address any questions and show the Welsh public and the world why this stadium that you're going to create is going to be like no other. So what I've done is I've given you some options here, the type of roles you can have within your groups. I would say option 1 is pretty much compulsory. So I think you need a presenter or a correspondent for the item. So I think that's essential. And then what I've done then is some options of potential interviewers or other people to speak during the press conference and the bulletin. So the person who's designed the stadium and why they designed it that way, the manager who will possibly be in charge of things like the events in the stadium. And it's not just going to be sport, potential other things you could have in there. Other things you could have could be the Welsh rugby coach, Wayne Pivac, or Welsh captain Alan Jones. If you want to go down the football route, you can look at Gareth Bale. And because of the nature of what the stadium is going to offer, not just as a facility, but also for the local council, the town or the city, wherever you set it, having someone from the town council maybe talking about job opportunities or other things money it's going to bring into the local area. Another option I thought for you, something like a member of a Welsh band like the Stereophonics, because they may get the opportunity to perform concerts there, okay? And finally, maybe someone like the Welsh First Minister about what it can offer Wales. Personally, I probably wouldn't, and I'll keep that to myself. Why? But when I was discussing this with Mr. Goddard, the one thing I think you need to do, first of all, is to research the exciting stadiums there are around the world, okay? I know we all agree that Principality Stadium is the best stadium in the world, and yes, it's home to the best rugby team in the Six Nations currently. But if you have a look around some of the stadiums around the world, they are phenomenal. I've included some pictures in the brief there for you to see. But for example, floating stadiums, there's a stadium in Holland where the motorway runs underneath the stadium. There's one, I think, in Japan where the stadium actually sinks down into the ground and then they put a concrete layer over it to hold other events. But your task will be to create a virtual tour of your stadium, explain what makes the stadium unique, okay? And that's where you need to be aspirational. Give it something really, special and different. What exciting events could be held there? Where will the stadium be located? If you think of the Principality, sometimes someone put it in the centre of town. Other people said they'd put the stadium outside of the city of Cardiff to make it more, special. But the fact that it's been kept in the city centre and accessible to everyone in the city is what made that stadium so special. and how will the stadium improve the local community? So those are the bullet points. I put the success criteria in there for you as well in terms of what you need to do. And at the bottom, you'll see some examples of news bulletins and extracts from various things on BBC Wales to give you some idea of how it should look. Okay, so have a real good go. If, like I said, Mr. Goddard will be the one overseeing this, but if you do have any questions and you want me to have an input as well, feel free to message me and I'll happily support you as well. So good luck and really go for something, you know, very different. And I think you'll find a real enjoyment from it then. Thank you.
Okay, diolch, Mr. Phillips. Next we go to Mr. Woodland.
Bore da, everyone. I hope you can hear me. I'm just going to share my screen with you and share my document, if you give me one moment. Now, it's very similar to Mr. Phillips. I'm going to be delivering this sort of introduction today, but Mrs. Melbourne is going to be your link for the project. But of course, if you need to get in contact with me, then you can do that. That's no problem at all. It can be in the Welsh men's rugby team or the Welsh women's rugby team. It's completely up to you. But you need to pick somebody who is a current Welsh player. You don't want to be picking someone who's retired, because then obviously the sentence patterns that you will use are going to have to change a little bit, because they'll have to be changed to past tense. And we all know how sometimes complicated that could be. So your profile must utilize the sentence patterns on the right-hand side of the page, okay? If you would like to include more of your own patterns, then please do so. And it covers quite a lot there. You've got a bit of an introduction where you can use the sentence patterns, you know, to what you like. You can fill in the gaps to what player you would like to pick. A quick description of them, what they look like, how old they are, what kind of hair and eyes they have, and maybe what you think about them. A section then on their career, okay, so where they started playing, who they played for, how many tries have they scored, how many caps do they have, and then a little conclusion at the end with your own opinion on that player, okay, why you think they're a good example, why they are heroes to young people. So it's 4 sections to it. We're not asking for essays, all right? We don't want, you know, the full life story of Alan Wyn-Jones. That's not what we're looking for. We are looking for a player profile, and you've obviously seen these in the past in a program or on a website, for example. You will have a picture. You might have some sort of quick facts, name, the amount of tries, the amount of caps they have, and then normally you'll have a section, a quick paragraph detailing their career. So obviously that's those sentences will be found on that page that you have on your screen at the moment. A big thing for me here is to remember to avoid Google Translate, as it is mostly inaccurate. If Google Translate worked well and it made your life easier, then I would probably tell you to use it, because it would make your life easier, it would make our lives easier. But sadly, it does not. If you need a word or two, all right, yes, it is okay now and again, but full sentence patterns, it is going to sort of muck up the structure, for want of a better phrase. All right, so please stick to the grammar that you have. If you know how to structure certain sentences that you've learned over the period since September or previous to that you want to include, then by all means do it. But please, I do stress this to avoid Google Translate, because I will be able to spot what sentences are ones that you know and which ones that you've inaccurately translated on Google, people. Okay, so thank you very much for your time. Diolch a phob lwc. Remember that if you need me throughout this task, then by all means message me for any guidance, but Mrs. Melbourne is your main contact for Welsh. So just to summarize, a player profile that you would see in a match day program, no essays, a nice brief paragraph with facts about them, and please make it look cool, because it will be featured in a match day program, of course. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Mr. Goddard.
Diolch yn fawr, Mr. Woodland. And next we have Mrs. Davis from the Technology Department.
Good morning, everybody. Mr. Goddard, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, all good. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Well, I'm going to share my screen with you. Can you confirm that you can see this, Mr. Goddard?
It's loading as we speak.
Okay, so your task is to design a food product that is handheld and that can be eaten on the go. Okay, so when you go to events, sporting events, music events, you see lots of street caterers serving handheld food. So your task is basically to design a handheld snack that is nutritious and that can be eaten on the go. So we've set you some success criteria for this. It must be nutritious, cost no more than £5, use local ingredients, and also I want you to think about the type of packaging that you would serve your item of food in. So I want you to think about the environment, producing packaging that's environmentally friendly. You will have a PowerPoint in your Teams page, and you will have this PowerPoint, so you can follow this guidance that's on here, and I want you to produce your own PowerPoint based on the information that I've put on here for you. So you've got different tasks, and I want you to complete at least 1 page per task. Now, there's no boundaries with this task, there's no limitations really, so if you want to do something that's a little bit different to what I've suggested, then please do. Be creative, think outside the box. If you wanted to design a handheld food item that was specific to a nutritional requirement, so for example celiacs or vegans or something like that, then please do so. Okay, so the sky's the limit with this really. It's up to you what you take away from this. So your first task is to produce an image board. So I want you to investigate different varieties of snacks that are sold at these types of events. So create an image board using products that you have found. Then I would like you to analyze the results and explain the changes that you would need to make to each one so that they meet the success criteria. So you may not find a product that fully meets the success criteria that I outlined earlier, so you might need to change them. If you need to do that, then you need to annotate the products that you have found. You might want to consider as well the age of your target audience. Are you designing products for children, or are you designing them for adults? To help you with the packaging idea, then I want you to do some research into environmentally friendly packaging. Again, you're going to analyze this packaging, you're going to comment on the good points and points for improvement. Another aspect of this, and this is tying into your local community, is looking at products that are made and produced around Chepstow or in the Wye Valley. So one of them that I can think of to hand is Brooks Dairy. So they produce cheese, they produce ice cream. So have a look at what other producers that there are in the local area and tap into that as well. See if you could use their ingredients in your dish. The next thing is to produce some design ideas, some prototypes. So again, you can draw these. Some of you have got fantastic art skills that you could draw on here, annotate them with the ingredients that you're going to use, and also consider the packaging for each product that you would design. You can then do a survey on your design ideas. So you can research people within your group or within the year group. You can design a survey, send it to different groups, asking them which product that they would like to see on sale the most, what improvements they would make to them to make them more suitable for the target audience that you have designed or that you have decided to focus on. So again, this is really yours to design and to tweak and to personalize as you so wish. Then you produce your final design. So again, thinking about the success criteria, it must be handheld, it must be nutritious, remembering that cost as well. So there's a numeracy task in here for you to do. So working out the cost of the ingredients that you have used, and again, thinking about the packaging. Please, if you want to make it, okay, then it would be fantastic to see the images of the products that you have made. I know some of you will want to do that. you can also work out the nutritional content of the dish by using Explore Food. And I know that we have used that in year 7, 8 and 9, but I've put some information on here as well on how to do that. And you might want to use that to analyse the rugby player's diet that Miss Jones was on about earlier. So you can analyse a diet, or you can analyse a recipe using this link that's on the page. So briefly, that is it. But as I've already said, the sky's the limit with this. You can, you know, just go as broad as you want to. Remember thinking about vegans, celiacs, and you could also design the packaging as well. So thinking about nutritional information that's on there, all of those things. If you've got any questions, please drop me a message, or Mr. Anthony or Mrs. Heath, and we'll do our best to help you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Davis. That's brilliant. Okay, we're over to Mrs. Miller now.
Board up, how? Shemai. Okay, so for music, we wanted to give you an opportunity to tackle this in 2 different ways. So it's either a composing task or it is a performing task, because obviously some of you are going to enjoy one of those slightly more. So for the performance task, what we'd like to do is ask you to download, is free, the Acapella music app. So it works on Android and it works on Apple. And what it can do is that you can record yourself singing the main melody, which would be lovely, and then you can layer yourself over the top of yourself. It gets a bit complicated. Or obviously you can do it in your groups. One of you can sing the melody, or a few of you can sing the melodies, and then the rest of you can sing the harmonies over the top. It's a really straightforward app to use, and we are privileged that Mr. Lazelle has done 2 examples for you there. I'm not going to play them for you now, I'm afraid we don't have the time, but they're on the PowerPoint for you there. So you can layer yourself over the top. So we could have fantastic, fabulous, really huge performances of the Welsh National Anthem, which would be fantastic. Okay, so we've put the backing track on there for you. It's a YouTube link, and it would just be really great to see what kind of harmonies you can do. Obviously, you can go to town with this. You could write your own counter melodies. You could write your own harmonies. You could play the accompaniment if you wanted to, if you've got instruments at home. You can do all sorts. But number 1 task, or one of the tasks, is to perform the Welsh National Anthem. If performance isn't really your bag and you're more after, a composition task, then you can compose your own anthem. Now, we've been using Chrome Music Lab a lot in music. Free, it's a fantastic website. You don't have to download anything, so it's not an app, it's a website that you can use online. It's brilliant. There's all sorts of things you can do on there, you know, because you've been using it in your music lessons so far. So we're composing our own anthem. So we've put some success criteria down at the bottom here. Number 1, keep it nice and memorable and keep it singable. Don't make it overcomplicated. Often best melodies are the best. We want it to be uplifting. When you're in this fantastic stadium that you've designed and you're watching rugby or football or whatever concert, whatever's happening, when you hear this anthem, you want it to uplift the crowd and you want them to be feeling really good and really energized. Use the Welsh National Anthem as your prototype. You know what makes it successful. You can build on that. You can use it as your own inspiration. Now, this anthem that you compose could be purely instrumental, or it could have your own lyrics if you wanted to. So you could write the lyrics. That would be brilliant. Loads of you out there really keen literacy skills, keen linguists, so that would be brilliant. Could you perhaps compose them yn y Cymraeg or in Saesneg, in English as well? So that's up to you. Could be that there's a poem out there that you really want to set to music. All right, so those are your 2 projects for us. We've got the performance side and we've got the composition side. So like with everybody, please shout. I'm here to help. Mr. Lazelle's here to help, and Miss Williams, obviously. And that's it. I hope you enjoy it. I think it should be really fun. I think it should complement all the other tasks really well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Miller. And we've got Mr. Perkins next.
Well, hello, pal. I'm just going to share my screen now for our project. This is, well, projects, I should say. There are 2 activities for us to look at. Okay. The first is, how is your stadium going to be powered? So the pilot for that is actually out there at the moment. Is the Majeski Stadium in Reading is actually powered by a wind turbine. but that is old technology and it's had its problems. Okay, so we're looking for you in science to work out how you would power your power station, making it sustainable and renewable, so using renewable energy sources. Okay, so what I've done here is I've created a little brief. So project 1, make the stadium self-sufficient for its power needs using renewable energy. So Reading Football Ground does exactly this. What would you design in terms of generating electricity? Okay, so your success criteria: a description of renewable resources that you would use. In other words, how do they produce electricity? So that science behind how those devices produce electricity is important. A description of how it affects the carbon footprint. That's obviously we're looking here at sustainability. So we want a statement based on the effects on the carbon footprint of the stadium. A description of the suitability for that stadium. And some sort of model incorporated into your Minecraft design, or physically if you want, but I stress with that is optional. Okay, so would you use solar? Would you use wind turbines? Would you use geothermal? They're 3 examples. Would you use a combination of all 3? So in your groups, decide how would you go about designing the power needs for your stadium and incorporate it into your design. Now what I've also done there is I've put some useful links, given some information on things like climate change, renewables resources, basically environmental renewable energy for kids and this, that and the other. So there's a couple of resources there, and what we're looking for is to see you incorporate your designs for the power needs for the stadium into your Minecraft design. You can also produce a PowerPoint and link it to say an emoticon of a worker that's working on the stadium, and that can incorporate your PowerPoint design as Mrs. Giddy has described in hers. You can do that if you wish to, and that would then round up the first week's worth of projects. In the second week, we're looking at the outdoor areas surrounding it. So we want you to think about how you could improve the outdoor area by having a series of gardens, vegetable plots, and maybe ponds, and linking the 2 together with something called aquaponics. So this bit would incorporate you doing some research on what aquaponics is. So designing suitable gardens and ponds using aquaponics in order to improve the visual look of the stadium and produce vegetable/flowers for the local community. So your success criteria would be a description of what aquaponics is, explain how plants and fish benefit from this, and a design of your pond or pond systems or garden systems, explaining your choices and designs. Incorporate into your design on Minecraft, or again, you can produce a physical model if you wish. But like I stress with that one, that is optional. You don't have to do that one. Just I know that some people like to make a physical model. And again, with this, I've linked in some useful resources for you to use to research about aquaponics and its use. This little area over the last 12 months, particularly with lockdowns, has grown significantly in terms of its coverage, and it's something that we're going to be looking into developing throughout the school over the next year or so. So for us, it's an exciting opportunity to start that process with you all. That's us for science. Obviously, you can contact your science teachers if you need any further help, or me particularly. You can message me at Phil Perkins with any questions, and I'll pick them up as you go through things. I hope you enjoy it. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with. I know the creativity levels in Chepstow School are huge, and we're going to be very interested in seeing how this project goes forward. And at that point, I'll pass you on to the next person. Thank you, Mr. Goddard.
Thank you, Mr. Perkins. Well, I think before we go to the next presenter, we'll just have a minute where we just reflect, because at the moment, some really, really exciting briefs being presented this morning from staff who've been very, very busy putting this together to make this really creative and exciting for you. We obviously, there's lots of information being given out here this morning. This is being recorded, and this will go on to the Teams page for you to then look at again. But also, don't forget your off timetable in terms of your current timetable you've been following for the last few weeks. This is you working independently in groups, so you've got a lot of time to do this. and you will be sort of, when we finish this presentation this morning's assembly, you'll go off to your groups to discuss, to look at the briefs, and then to divide those briefs up into like, who's doing what. So you could be working together as a group on one, or in twos, or a single person could take a couple of briefs. So we don't want you to be overwhelmed, okay, but we want you to be busy over the next 2 weeks and really being creative. I will obviously summarize at the end, but I'm going to pass you now to Mr. Harris.
Can you hear me okay, Mr. Goddard?
Yeah, all good, sir.
Fantastic. So I'm just going to share my screen with you. Bore da pawb, and I'll show you what you are going to be doing for your Humanities project. So here it is. Can you see that, sir?
Yeah, all good.
Fantastic. Good. So what we're going to be doing in Humanities for our project is what is there to do and see in Wales. Okay, so the scenario is obviously you're building your multifunctional stadium so it can host concert, monster truck shows, sporting events, things like that. So the idea behind our brief is that people come to Cardiff or come to visit a stadium and a place, but they often don't want to just go to one singular event. They actually want to make a whole weekend of it. So what you're going to be doing is identifying some places that tourists could spend time visiting and create a brochure for each of these. But there are some caveats in this. So the tourist attractions can be no more than 30 miles outside of Cardiff because people don't want to spend lots and lots of time traveling. You're going to identify 3 places, so 3 nice places that they could visit as well as go into their event at your stadium. And also lots of people don't want to spend too much money, so they only want to spend around £50 for 2 people. So you've got some success criteria at the bottom of that slide of things that you can include for your brochure for some of the types of places that people can go. So choosing 3 places. So for example, they're going to need to see a picture of what they're going to visit. They're going to need a price because they need to stick to their budget. They're going to need a description to see if they're going to want to visit that place, an explanation of why this place is worth the visit and why it's important to Wales, the activities available there, and again, you have to adhere to that £50 budget. Okay, so some of the things that you could do next. So these are some helpful hints. So identify some of the suitable attractions. Choose the 3 best places. So try and have a little research of lots of places and then narrow those down to the 3 that you think would be most interesting for these people who are coming from outside to visit. Make sure you're sticking to your budget and then design your brochure as per your success criteria. And feel free to use anything that you want, really. So you can use PowerPoint, Word, or Publisher, or another array of things that you might have. So what I've given you on slide 4 are some of the famous places that aren't any more than 30 miles away from Cardiff. So lots of these you'll be familiar with yourself. So obviously you've got St Fagans. So most of you would have been there with primary school or maybe in Chepstow School. So you've got Tredegar House, you've got Big Pit. For those more adventurous, so you've got the Viola Arena for ice skating and ice hockey. They might be more laid back, so they might want to visit the National Museum of Wales. So there's lots and lots of things that people can do that are no more than 30 miles from Cardiff. Okay, so that's what you're going to do first of all. So secondly, what you need to do is identify some key locations around Cardiff. So lots of these people that come to visit these events might not know anything about Cardiff whatsoever. So you're going to be using a website, which I'll explain in just a moment, to identify some key locations around Cardiff. Okay, so they're going to need to know where the Principality Stadium is. They're going to need to know a hotel in which they can stay in Cardiff. They're going to need to know those places in your brochure, so the places that you've identified, the 3 best places to visit, some restaurants in Cardiff, the train station, and the bus station. So what 3 words is a website that is used to identify more accurate locations. So if you simply type in what 3 words, and I've also put a link to it on your PowerPoint just there, you'll see that what they've done on the website is they've broken down the whole world into different squares, which can be identified with 3 words. Okay, so you can see on the example there, so that's a place in Queensland, Australia, and the 3 words for that exact spot is space, fund, shaped. Okay, so you're going to use the website to identify those locations there in your success criteria. So if you click on it, if you need more help with this, obviously I can give you more help with this. So you're going to identify the success criteria and then just create a document with those locations with their 3 words coordinates. And then if you're feeling spicy and you really want to challenge yourself, so maybe you could identify on a map where the Wales training base is and find out it's what 3 words, or maybe how far it is from the Wales rugby training base to the Principality Stadium, as well as giving 3 advantages of the location of the Principality Stadium. So that's what you're going to be doing for Humanities. I'll be your point of contact if you need any information whatsoever about the Humanities project, or a little bit unsure of the What 3 Words website, then please feel free to get in touch with myself or your other Humanities teachers to give you a hand. Thanks very much, and I look forward to seeing your projects.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Okay, next we have Mr. Woodton from English.
Okay, good morning everyone, just sharing my screen now. Let me know when you can see it, please.
Yeah, it's all good, sir.
All right, amazing. So your task is to create a newspaper article to report on what you have created for the Minecraft Stadium event. For those of you who haven't created a stadium yourself, if you've been working with someone else, or if you've been involved, you know, observing someone or working together with someone else, you can interview them for it. So you do have that option there. You have a skill focus, which is your use of varying sentence structures. So your simple sentences, your complex sentences, and your compound sentences, combined with a few different things there, like questioning, exclamation marks, and so on, or exclamatory sentences. I'd like you to try and use some persuasive language techniques. I do apologize, 2 seconds. And have a look at the success criteria below the picture on it there. So in total, I want you to write at least 250 words and about a maximum of 300, describing either your journey so far and the steps that you took to complete your stadium, or to interview a classmate stadium. So whether that's someone in your class, in your year, or or someone who is involved in this project itself. I would like you to create at least 3 laid out paragraphs. I say at least 3. I'm happy for you to change that slightly or be creative in your approach, whether you want to add separate lines for effects or separate paragraphs for effect as well, even if they're just 1 sentence on its own. I'd like you to specifically try and use tripling, which is the use of either 3 adjectives or 3 repeating similar words. Okay, and I'd like to direct your attention to using reported speech as well. So this is going to be really important for this. I'd like you to say to report your findings either from what you've done or about what other people have done, or your classmates. And I've set out some examples just by here. So using words like he said, so he or she said that he was going to start by setting the floor. I told myself, or Oscar identified that I should have done it this way, but we changed our plan halfway through, and so on. So I've given you some sentence starters here, and I've laid out your 3-paragraph plan. So describe one plan here is to describe your project, and the other one is to interview a classmate stadium. It does change depending on what you're doing, but it's up to you. I would only like you to do one. I really don't want you to do both of them. I'd like you to focus your attention on just one of these, and I've given you a model of what I expect there as well. And that is it from me. I'm your point of contact. If you have any questions or need any help with it, please let me know.
Okay, thank you, sir. And the last project brief this morning is from Mrs. Plummer.
I do apologise, it's not letting me get back to the...
Good morning, everybody. So here in Maths, we are going to be looking at a numeracy project to do with the cost and how much you can gain from running your stadium on a rugby event day. So I'm going to try and share my screen. Hopefully it will overlay Mr. Whittington. So, sir, could you just clarify if you can see my screen?
Yes, miss, that's great.
Thank you. Okay, so what you need to do is just predict what income streams you can have at your rugby stadium and what expenditure they will entail. So you might want to be running a food stall. Well, how much is it going to cost you to run that food stall, and how much do you think that you can gain from it? So you can see this project brief. This is attached in the overall teams. And you might want to link this to the other projects that you're doing. So I have created a extra support material. So it's got some information about glossary of terms and also some potential things for you to think about. So you might want to think about ticket sales. How much are you going to spend? How much are you going to price out your tickets? Are you going to do a reduction for children or concessions? Do you need cleaners and maintenance and cleaning materials? Are you going to have any catering? Are you going to have food kiosks? How much will it cost you, and how much are you going to sell them for? So this is trying to get you to think about a bit more of the bigger picture of how much it will cost to run an event day. So as you'll see, there's some examples here that you can use. So you don't have to research everything. You can use some of the examples in this support material, but you might want to research it to try and get a better price. Okay, I have put in an example Excel document, and I've also created a template for you that you can use to fill in. So you can write in the category, whether it's food kiosks or maintenance or facilities, what the description is, how many of them you need, how much they cost per item. So if you can find somewhere online where you can buy 100 jumpers for a certain price, you need to work out how much they will cost per item. And then it will calculate the total income or the total expense, depending on which column you fill in. And like I say, there is an example there where it's been filled in with some incomes and some expenses. And then at the bottom of the spreadsheet, it will calculate for you what is your gross profit, what is your expenses, and what is your net profit. Okay, so there are the key terminology in this support pack as well, so please make sure that you read through this carefully. What we would like you to do is produce a poster that just shows some of your income streams, some of your expense streams, and how much you predict some of those are going to gain you in terms of money. So be creative with it, think entrepreneurially, think how you can make the most money out of your kiosks, and just have a bit of fun creating a poster. If you have any questions, I am your contact for this, so please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Mrs. Plum. That's fantastic. Okay. That's all the briefs now we've gone through, and I've been sitting here listening to them, and I'm blown away by how exciting they are and how rich they are. I'm going to just give a chance to your heads of year to have a word with you, because they're going to be also a point of contact for support and clarification. So if I go to Miss Miller first, if that's okay.
Hi everyone, Goddard again. Yeah, just to echo what Mr. Goddard said, they sound really great. They sound fantastic. You've got a real broad spectrum of what you can get involved in. Really, really important that you ask for help, as ever. I know some of you feel a bit awkward, you know, behind a screen, but message the teachers who've been presenting today. Message any teacher, message your tutors, other people in the department, and they will point you in the right direction. It's really important that you ask for help. I'm having loads and loads of messages come in now during the assembly. Some things I have been able to answer, some things I'll have to point you in the right direction for. We've had one recurrent question, Mr. Goddard, I don't know if you can answer this now, about groupings. Is it the same groups that they've been working on for this IT project?
Yeah, miss, they're in groups now.
Mr. Goddard, you're on mute, I think.
I could hear him.
Oh, just me then.
So, okay. Yeah, so they're in groups already, so you will be working in those groups as you are at the moment.
Amazing, there we are. Good luck, everybody. Enjoy it. Make sure you ask for help, and really looking forward to seeing you soon.
Okay, Mr. Parkin.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Just echoing again what Miss Miller said, this sounds like a really exciting next couple of weeks for you all. And I think it's something different as well. I know some of you have been fed up doing the same lessons in your timetable, and you're itching to get back to school. But this is really exciting now for you all. Just make sure that you use one another, your groups that you're in. It's really important that you don't take too much on by yourself, and you make sure that maybe you want to create a group by yourself, a little group chat, and make sure you speak to one another, use one another in these projects, okay? And like Miss Miller has already said, the most important thing is that you speak to your teachers, okay? Those briefs that have been set, make sure you message those teachers and ask any questions that you've got. The last thing we want is anyone sat at home worried or concerned or confused. Okay, reach out to those teachers, ask those questions. But again, like I said, work as a group, work as a team. Okay, a lot of this is going to come down to teamwork and you communicating with one another. All right, but like I said, a really exciting couple of weeks. All right, I really look forward to seeing some of these final projects. So all the best, good luck. And if you need anything, you can always message me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Harris.
Hi, everyone. Really what everyone else has said. I think obviously we've had a lot of information this morning, so I think it's really important now after this assembly you get together in your groups. There's about 10 projects that's been spoken about this morning, so I think how I would do it is I would think about doing one every day. So perhaps get together after this, decide which one you want to work on today, and do it that way. Perhaps I think it's really important to keep having your break times and lunch times. You know, you don't have to necessarily stick to the timings of the school day like you have been, but please remember to still have plenty of breaks throughout the day. I'm really, really excited to see what you come up with at the end. It's been a particularly difficult spring term, and I think this is a great way to end. You can be as creative as you like, okay? The sky is the limit for this one. So enjoy, and I'll see you all really soon.
Brilliant. Okay, brilliant. Thank you everyone for that support. We are getting a few questions in on the chat, so we're answering them. When this assembly finishes, I'll stay on if any wants to ask any questions, which you don't want to do, obviously, with others. Now, just to summarise, this is an amazing project. It's come about because you've worked so wonderfully well over lockdown on Teams with your lessons. A lot of your lessons have been live lessons. Some have been asynchronous, means work's been set, but we've been blown away by how well all the Key Stage 3 and 4 and 5 students have engaged and shown responsibility and maturity over the lockdown period. So when we spoke to you a while ago, Mr. Sims did some feedback from you and also your heads of year and subject teachers. We thought it'd be different now, a kind of change for you for the last 2 weeks, to do something slightly creative and innovative, and which will finish off the term really well. As I said, we're going to show off some of the best work, right, on Friday the 26th. So you've got 2 weeks to do this project. And the exciting thing here is you're in charge of it in your own time. I would suggest you start at 9 o'clock every day. You call your groups in for a meeting and you decide what you're going to do. You have a check-in, right? How are we getting on? Who's doing the fitness and nutrition? How's that going? Who's doing this? Oh, no one's opted for this one yet. Who's going to take this on? Let's work together, etc., etc. That's the kind of teamwork and the kind of responsible, mature conversations you should be having. Now, you're not on timetable, as I said, so you are independent here. You have different layers of support. You have a member of staff who can be checking into you today, at least, and tomorrow, and throughout the next 2 weeks. You have your heads of year as well, monitoring, helping, supporting, but making sure you are engaging. Okay, so it's not knocked out. Everyone is expected to take part in this fully. And you've also got myself, okay, overviewing it, and you've got Mrs. Giddy and the ICT team, Mrs. Bourne and Mrs. Thomas, who've been running this project with you for a few weeks, and we're expecting some really good things. As I said to you, you've been given lots of information this morning, but it's all going to be, or it's all now on Teams. So you go back in this morning and you look at this again, you divvy the briefs up and you move on. And it's really, you can decide when your breaks are, you can decide when your lunchtime is and when you've finished. But I would stick to the school day as you've been doing, right, as you know, to give you some structure and some continuity and consistency. But you can do this you know, during the next 2 weeks. Right, during the next few days. So that's exciting. It is cross-curricular, it is skills rich, and it is creative and innovative, right? But it is about you, right, being independent, having developing your skills across different subjects. I will stay on now for any questions you might want to ask. Right, you've got lots of points of contact. All the staff this morning giving you the brief overviews. They're your point of contact for the briefs. Okay, and then obviously myself and heads of year for any other issues. Okay, also keep informing us how well you're getting on, how you're doing, how exciting it is. Show us your work if you want to. All right, but tell us positives as well. Okay, and we'll be checking with you nearly every day. Right, we have got an assembly this time next week, which I'll be taking. It's a check-in assembly, really see how we're getting on. We'll re-emphasise and reinforce, and we'll give you some feedback on what we've seen so far. So next Monday, you will get an invite at 9 o'clock for another assembly, and then you'll get an invite on a Friday, the last day of term, the 26th, 9 o'clock for celebration. Right, let's see some really, really good work. Right, if there's any questions, please put them on chat. Thanks for all the staff who've given their time and for this morning and their fantastic briefs they've given out. And good luck, right? And I'm really excited to see how you progress. All right, so if you want to go now, that's fine. If you want to stay on and ask me any questions, that's also fine. Thanks to everyone.